What if a tiny 1974 penny could hide a story that still fascinates collectors today? At first glance, it looks completely ordinary. Just a small 1-cent coin from the United States that millions of people once carried in their pockets every day. People used coins like this for candy, groceries, and daily shopping without thinking twice about them. Most were spent quickly and forgotten almost immediately. But in the world of coin collecting, ordinary objects sometimes hide extraordinary stories. Over the years, certain 1974 Lincoln cents began attracting attention from collectors who noticed unusual details on rare examples. That curiosity slowly turned this simple penny into one of the most talked about modern coins among enthusiasts. Because sometimes the smallest detail can completely change the importance of a coin. And the deeper collectors looked into this penny, the more mysterious its story became. By the end of this video, you may never look at an old penny the same way again. The year 1974 was an important period in American history. The United States Mint produced huge numbers of Lincoln 1-cent coins during that year. Most of them entered circulation immediately and became part of everyday life across the country. Children dropped them into vending machines. Workers carried them in their pockets after long shifts. Families stored them inside jars and drawers without paying attention to dates or mint marks. At the time, nobody imagined collectors decades later would carefully examine these same pennies under magnification. But as years passed, unusual stories connected to certain 1974 cents slowly began spreading through collector communities. And once curiosity enters the coin world, interest can grow very quickly. That is exactly what happened with this small Lincoln cent. One reason this coin became fascinating is because of mint errors and rare varieties. Mint errors happen when something unusual occurs during the production process. Sometimes the design appears slightly off-center, sometimes numbers or letters look doubled, and occasionally strange details appear that experts immediately recognize as unusual. While most 1974 pennies remain common, a few examples attracted attention because they looked different from normal pieces. That is why experienced collectors inspect coins very carefully instead of judging them too quickly. One tiny variation can completely change how desirable a coin becomes. Collectors know that some famous coins in history became valuable because of small production mistakes, and the 1974 Lincoln cent became part of that excitement. Another reason collectors remain interested in this coin involves stories about experimental versions connected to the 1974 date. During the 1970s, rising metal prices became an important issue for coin production in the United States. Because of this, discussions about alternative materials became more common. Over time, rumors began spreading about rare experimental 1974 cents produced under unusual circumstances. Some collectors believed a few rare test pieces escaped into private hands. Whether every story is accurate or not, those discussions added even more mystery to the reputation of this coin. And once a coin becomes linked to mystery, collectors naturally become more curious. People start wondering if rare examples could still exist somewhere unnoticed. Those questions are exactly why this penny continues attracting attention decades later. One of the biggest reasons this coin became famous online is because of incredible value discussions connected to rare examples. Over the years, collectors and auction conversations mentioned astonishing numbers tied to legendary versions of the 1974 penny. Among those discussions, the figure of $13 million became one of the most talked about numbers connected to this coin. That does not mean every 1974 penny is worth millions of dollars. In reality, most examples are still worth only face value, unless they contain rare, verified characteristics or exceptional condition. But in the collector world, extreme rarity can create enormous attention. The idea that one unusual penny could become part of massive value discussions fascinates people everywhere. Collectors understand that rarity, condition, and historical importance strongly influence demand. And this coin became legendary because of those possibilities. The design of the 1974 Lincoln cent also adds to its popularity among collectors. On the front side, the coin features Abraham Lincoln, one of the most respected presidents in American history. His portrait became one of the most recognizable designs ever used on American currency. The word Liberty appears beside him, while the national motto curves above the portrait. Near the lower part of the design sits the date 1974, along with a possible mint mark depending on where the coin was produced. On the reverse side, the Lincoln Memorial stands proudly in the center of the coin. For decades, this design traveled through stores, homes, and businesses across the United States. Today, experts study every tiny detail, carefully searching for unusual characteristics. That mixture of history and mystery gives this coin a special kind of appeal, and sometimes the most familiar designs create the most fascinating stories. Mint marks are another important detail collectors pay close attention to. Different United States mint facilities produced pennies during 1974. Some coins carried no mint mark at all, while others included small identifying letters. For example, the S mint mark represents San Francisco. To most people, that tiny letter may seem unimportant, but collectors understand that mint locations can influence rarity and collector demand. Production numbers varied between facilities, and certain versions became harder to find over time. Many 1974 pennies also experienced decades of scratches, fading, and circulation damage. Finding cleaner examples today can actually be difficult. That is why professionally graded coins often attract stronger collector interest. Imagine opening an old drawer and discovering a forgotten jar filled with pennies collected many years ago. Most people would probably see nothing more than spare change, but experienced collectors think very differently. They carefully inspect dates, mint marks, and unusual design details looking for something rare. Every coin becomes a possible clue connected to history. The excitement comes from never knowing when a surprising discovery might appear. A single overlooked penny could suddenly become interesting because of one unusual feature. That possibility keeps coin collecting exciting generation after generation. People enjoy the idea that hidden treasures might still exist in ordinary places. And coins like the 1974 Lincoln cent represent exactly that kind of mystery. Another fascinating part of this coin is how ordinary it appears at first glance. Unlike gold treasures or ancient jewelry, this penny looks simple and common. That simplicity actually makes the story even more interesting. Most people would never expect a small copper-colored coin to become the subject of collector discussions around the world. But the coin hobby has always been filled with surprises. Some famous discoveries started with coins people almost ignored completely. That idea changes the way collectors look at everyday objects. Instead of seeing only spare change, they see history, rarity, and hidden possibilities. The 1974 penny became popular because it represents that exact feeling of curiosity. And that mystery keeps collectors searching year after year. Perhaps the most powerful part of this story is how easily these coins were overlooked for decades. Millions of people carried 1974 pennies without imagining they could become interesting in the future. Most were spent immediately and forgotten. Yet among billions of ordinary coins, a few examples managed to attract serious collector attention. That idea changes how people look at everyday objects around them. Sometimes rarity hides behind completely ordinary appearances, waiting for the right person to notice it. And in the world of coin collecting, patience can be just as important as luck. One careful observation can completely change the story of a coin. That possibility is exactly what keeps collectors searching year after year despite the odds. And this 1974 Lincoln cent proves that perfectly.